Hello and welcome everybody to yet another podcast. Today we have a very special guest, someone who I've known for, I think it's been over a year at this point, and someone who I've wanted to get on the show for quite a while now. Please, everybody, welcome Brandon Story. Welcome to the show, man.
Thanks, man. Tim, awesome to be here with you. I know you got some pretty solid guests on already, your first 10 episodes, so ready to dive in.
Hell yeah, I think you're number 10 or 11. So, hell yeah. My goal was to get 10 podcasts done, and then I'll care about quality and everything. So,
Yeah.
I'm slowly upgrading my setup to make this a bit more enjoyable for the listeners. But for now, we're gonna have to deal with this crappy microphone and the shitty camera. However,
Hey, dude,
Brendan,
content. This is how content is created. This is how you start. You just do it.
exactly,
You just
no
do it and figure it out.
excuses, no
Yeah.
excuses. So, Brendan, why don't you tell us who you are, what you do, and I'm especially interested in your story, what you did before you started copywriting, how you got into it, and then your journey from there on.
Yeah, man. So my journey into copywriting actually starts basically 10 years ago. So I was working at a pizza shop. I was making like $12 an hour, just working a random job, minimum wage job basically. And then I got married. So I got married. I was 22 years old. And all of a sudden, like overnight, I woke up literally like the day after my wedding, and I was like, "Oh my goodness!" Like, and I had this huge sinking feeling in my gut, and it was really scary. And it wasn't like cold feet or like, "Oh no, I married the wrong person." My
Mm,
wife's awesome. I definitely married up, but like, it was this like overwhelming like fear that like what the heck am I doing working at a pizza shop? Like, I have to provide for a family now. I have a wife I have to provide for. I'm gonna have kids one day. Like, I don't think $12 an hour working like 30 hours a week is gonna cut it to do that. It's such a weird like. It's not like I planned this. I just woke up and like something like internally just like shifted, and it was just
mm,
like I don't know if it was just like how we're made or whatever, but like it's like like okay, to be a provider now, like figure this out. But it was scary because I didn't know what to do, and I had tried college years before, right out of high school, and I couldn't do it. I did it for 3 months, and I was paying my own way through, um, and I was like, what am I like? I'm spending thousands of dollars on these classes, and I'm learning Spanish and doing these essays that are just so like dull and boring to me. And I was like, what am I doing? Like this is costing me money, and I like hate this right now. So college, that like I just couldn't see myself going back to college. So thankfully I had an older brother who has his own online business, and it got me thinking like, oh, like maybe there's something there. So I just started reading business books. Just bought all the business books I could find. Like a Virgin by Richard Branson, 4 Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss. All these business books that I could get my hands on, marketing books, Seth Godin, Purple Cow, like just things that I would see my brother had on his shelf. I'll be like, okay, I'll just start with some of those things, and I'll get my own and read them and figure it out. And then so that took me on a path of, you know, still working these like whatever mediocre jobs, and but just learning and just starting to just put business stuff into my brain. And then I, quickly found out like, whoa, like the heck, like the 4 Hour Work Week, what's that? And Tim Ferriss, and seeing like, oh, like it's possible to build an online business and like do something working from home or wherever you want in the world. And like, I don't have to take the traditional path. So let's do it. So this is now like 2015, 2016. And like, it's all about drop shipping. This is where drop shipping just took off. So obviously that's the thing I try to learn. And so I go start doing eBay drop shipping. I did make sales. I went onto eBay, resold stuff from basically like Home Depot and other places through their global drop shipping program, which was brand new at the time. So people in other parts of the world can't buy American products. They can go to eBay though and get them through resellers like me.
mm,
So I would just like mark up, oh, here's a lawnmower for $200. Okay, I'd set it at $280 and just put it on. And so I would just it was such a like clunky way to do drop shipping because I was literally just copy pasting literally job descriptions to doing that. And
Mm.
so I did make some sales. I ran into cash flow problems where I only had $1,000 credit card. Um, so I made some sales and I realized very quickly I'm in over my head and I don't know what the hell I'm doing because I realized later, like, drop shipping and building an e-com business, it requires like 12 skills at once. And
Mm.
I had zero skills and I was trying to figure it out. And I had some level of success. Like, I made some money, but not a lot. And it wasn't sustainable. And eventually fizzled out after like a couple months. And yeah, went back to the drawing board, went back to just having fun, putting business on the back burner. And I basically, for the next 5 years, went on a cycle of trying the next thing and doing it for a couple months and then giving up and then shiny object syndrome after shiny object syndrome after take a break and I just want to have fun and business is hard. And so I went through that cycle of trying bookkeeping, web development, uh, like ecom, eBay, PDF creation, service arbitrage, sales, Facebook Marketplace, like literally like 5 to 10 different things over the next 5 years. And eventually I was 25 and I was working mainly in like the restaurant industry, just cooking, serving, stuff like that. Um, and my wife and I we were just like getting like increasingly being like something's got to change. Like what's going like we want to go travel. She lived in Australia before for a year and she just ever since we met she's like we need to go back to Australia. I wanted to go to Thailand and like Southeast Asia and stuff. And the final job I worked at, we were promised like you'd be able to work from your laptops, work from home, travel the world, do all these things, make more money. And like every single promise was broken, basically. So I
Mm.
thought this is my ticket out. Finally, a 9 to 5 that gives me everything I want. And like none of the things happened. And I think it was just the final straw. And it was a really, really tough place to work at. And basically, we were just like, we were looking at tickets to Australia every year for like 2, 3 years. And I got to the point where I'm like, screw it. Like, we're booking
Mm.
this flight. We're booking this flight, and I don't care what happens. So we booked a one-way flight. This was December 2018. We booked a one-way flight to Australia, set to leave 6 months later, and we're just like, we're doing it. No matter what, we're just going to like it felt like for like years I was just going through the motions and just like felt like life was just happening to me and just things like I kind of wanted online business, kind of want to do things, but like they'd work out for a little bit, but then not, and then I get sidetracked. And eventually, I was realizing I'm like, dude, I'm halfway to 30. Like, where did the time go? And the place where I'm working sucks. And what are we like? I gotta do something. I gotta do something. So I just made drastic moves. We booked a one way flight, set to leave 6 months later, and basically said like, click, okay, let's figure it out. Because whenever we hop on that plane, we are not coming back to because we're from Canada. We're gonna hop on a one way flight, and when we get on that plane, we're not gonna have a job anymore. Me and my wife aren't gonna be working at a 9 to 5. We're gonna be having online. We're gonna have online businesses, and we're gonna travel the world and do all the things we want. And like nothing's gonna get in the way of that. So like I basically just put my back against the wall and burned my ships and just said, "Yep, we're going for it." Like we're going all in. And that is when I found copywriting. So
Mm.
years before when I got married and I was like, pizza boy, what the hell am I doing with my life? Business. I actually made a spreadsheet of all the things I could do working from home, working online. I literally like wrote down like, okay, like what's the easiest thing to learn? What's the quickest thing to learn? What's the cheapest thing to learn? What am I going to like the most when I do it? What is the
Mm.
highest income potential? All these things. What can I do from like my computer? All these things. What's the most passive? This, and I basically just like created like a scoring system of like all these things: drop shipping, trading, bookkeeping, web development, writing, ecom, like all the things you could think of for online business. And I made that sheet. And over the years, I was basically taking off things off the box. Uh, and I remember skipping over writing probably 2 times because I was like,
Mm.
oh, writing, like it was like third on my list of all the things. I had like 10 things, but I remember skipping over it just because my idea of writing was like high school. and my introduction to like university essays. And I was like, ugh, like I'm gonna hate this. Like, and I ranked it really low on like enjoyment. So which is what brought the score down because of my idea of writing. But I eventually came back to the list and was like, I'm picking the next thing on this list and just going all in. And it was writing. So I went back to my spreadsheet, booked the ticket. Now I'm looking like, okay, I got to figure out a business. Writing was the next thing on the list. I decided to just look into it and be like, maybe I'll be more open minded. And that led me to finding freelance writing, content writing, and copywriting, which I had no idea about before. So I chose copywriting. I looked in, I was like, what the heck? Like you could make money like selling things with writing. What? How's that work? I had done a sales job for 3 months. That was one of my other next things. I was like, I could do this remote.
Mm.
Tried sales for a few months, and so I understood like, oh, sales, but it's you're writing stuff to sell it instead of speaking to people. So I was like, what the heck? Like, I never thought about that. And I basically was just like, yep, I'm doing this, and this is gonna be the last thing I choose. This is gonna be the final thing. I'm not gonna go shiny object syndrome again. I'm just gonna pick it and be stubborn until it works out. And I have 6 months to figure this out before I hop on a plane and never come back to a 9 to 5. And so I did it, and I picked the thing, and I started diving into the rabbit hole, and I just started learning from YouTube, which was there wasn't a lot of guys there. Neville Medora was one of the OGs on YouTube who was teaching
Hmm.
copywriting. Um, Bought all the books: Adweek Copywriting Handbook, Influence, Scientific Advertising, Ogilvy and Advertising, all the stuff. Bought a bunch of courses, invested like $5,000 basically my first year.
Mm.
Courses, books, coaching wasn't really a thing. It was not really a big
Yeah.
thing back then. Otherwise, I would have done it. It was mainly just courses and books, and then I just went all in and basically set the goal that in 6 months I'm making my goal is to make $5,000 a month by the time we hop on that flight. And every morning I wake up and just dive in. And
Mm.
so that's how I got into copywriting and how I started. Um, just like the short snippet version of that first year, I wasn't making $5,000 a month by month 6. I was making 1,000. We hopped on that flight still to Australia. We moved to Thailand and lived on the cheap. Month 7, I hit $5,000 a month from copywriting. Month 12, I hit my first $9,000 a month. I was making 6 figures a year officially, basically at the 12-month mark. And yeah, since then, it's been a wild ride. So that was 6 years ago. And
Hmm.
yeah, that's kind of my story leading up to starting copywriting. And I don't know where you want to take it from there, but
Yeah.
yeah.
That okay. That's first off. That's very impressive. Very interesting. Like you burned all the ships essentially. You went all in on copywriting, and I think that's how a lot of great things in life happen. You just have no alternatives, and you're forced to really perform. Um, However, I want to ask you from when you started copywriting, and this might be relevant to the listeners.
Mhm.
How did you get started learning copywriting? Like, what exactly did you do, and how? Like, take us through the specific journey of how you made your first money, how things went from there, and how you scaled it up from there.
Yeah. So how I started learning copywriting, the first thing I did was basically like, it started with what even is copywriting. So I'm in Google, what is this thing? And that's where I find freelance writing, leads me to copywriting, start seeing a couple videos, guys explaining, no, you could write ads, write emails, write sales pages, write all this stuff. So yeah, I quickly from there basically just, I saw a video of like, if you want to learn copywriting, get all the books and learn from the OGs. So what I do, I bought all the books. Like I just didn't want to waste time. I'm like, I'm not gonna sit around and think like, ooh, should I do? I'm like, okay, this guy on YouTube says he's made lots of money with copywriting, seems pretty trustworthy. He says to buy these books and start reading them. All right, I'm gonna do this. And like
Mm.
basically from day one, I basically treated it like I'm in university. Like the way and you can relate because you're in university. When you're like, it's just something you do, and you're in school, and you're just committed and disciplined to learning the thing and doing the thing and studying the thing. And so that's how I treated it from day one. I didn't treat it like it was a side hustle that like, ooh, maybe I want to make $1,000 a month from copy and like just like some extra cash. This was like, dude, this is gonna become my career and my life. So I'm going to treat it like it's a business from day one. And I committed myself to learning as if I was in university. So I would wake up and I would be, writing every single morning in a Google Doc. Wake up before my wife wakes up, grab some coffee, slam it, and just write. I would just practice my writing, and like I already knew quickly like the only way I'm gonna win with this thing and win quickly is if I just do more than the next guy. Basically, like if I write more, I'm gonna win. If I study copywriting more, study the greats, I'm gonna win. If I take the courses, like probably some of them are gonna suck, some of them did suck, probably some of them are gonna be great, and some of them were great,
Mm.
and they're gonna teach me actual tangible digital stuff. So I had a
Yep.
combination of reading the OG books from the top dogs of times past, like Gary Halbert and David Ogilvy and Claude Hopkins, reading those books, learning from them, like classic direct response, direct marketing principles, and
So
like
good. Yeah.
all that stuff that like just to build a foundation. From there, I was like, well, I got to learn how to do it today's day and age because I'm probably not going to be sending direct like mail and stuff. So like that's where courses came in, learning digital stuff, learning how to write emails, how to write blog posts, um, write sales pages, stuff like that. So how I studied was basically every day I would write. Every day I would read books. Every day I'd go through courses. And like
Yep.
that's how I just started. And I spent my time just doing the basics, the fundamentals, and um, probably like I was realistically spending at least 2 hours a day writing
Yep.
from day one. Like at least writing 500 to probably 1,000 words per day minimum from day one. So I know there's copywriters today who like they'll write like some a couple tweets or like a very short piece of copy. I think the best thing you do is write long form copy and like write 500 to 1,000 words every single day, no matter what kind of copywriter you're going to be. Even if you're going to be a short form ad copywriter, I think
Yep.
writing just like volume, like knowing how to like craft a sales argument from start to finish and like maintain that and like
Yep.
just keep going and write, just get a higher word count in, like you're gonna get better faster. So that's what I was
Mm.
doing. I was just writing a ton, reading a ton, going through courses to learn specific digital, like modern copywriting every single day.
Let me ask you what you wrote about when you didn't have any clients before you had clients, because
Mhm.
I'm assuming a lot of the people listening to this, they're going to be beginners, and they don't have like a sample, like a client to write copy for.
Mhm.
What did you write about before you had clients, and how did you know, proofread and use that to get better?
Yeah. So good question. Before I had my first client, um, the thing that I was writing about was anything. And this, I know it sounds
Mm.
kind of dumb and vague and like probably not the favorite answer to hear, but like what I found out quickly was like if I'm gonna be good, I just need to get and like really focus on the fundamentals. Like if you look at like the top like athletes in the world, like these guys, they know the craziest tactics and all these things, no matter what sport you're looking at, football, basketball, whatever. But like I always like to think about like Michael Jordan and use him because he's just one of the top athletes of all time. And like this guy was so good at what he did, not because he focused on all these random tactics or whatever. It's because he just shot and took a shot and took a shot and took a shot and like did the basics and he just did them more than the next guy. And he just practiced harder. Kobe Bryant, same thing. They just did the fundamentals over and over again. Um, so I knew that early on that just writing from day one, no matter what, is crucial. What did I write about? From day one, when I didn't know what to write about, I just wrote what I like to call power writing sessions, power writing or free writing. So open up a Google Doc and just write whatever comes to my head. So like I like to think of this almost like my like morning diary or journal, which is something I've never done before this. Like, and I'll just say this as a side note, I'm not a lifelong writer. I was never the guy ever to like after school or after university or whatever be like, oh, I'm just gonna go write in my diary or journal today, or like, oh, I'm gonna go write poetry or like go do creative writing. I know some people are into that and they just love it. That was never me. I hated writing. Like I legitimately despised it, which is why I avoided it on my online business list for years because I thought it was going to be the worst thing ever. Well, I quickly realized I was wrong about it. I just learned the wrong type of writing. Academic, dull, boring writing that doesn't, it's not fun to write or read for most people, unless you're in academics and stuff. So, um, back to what I was writing, I basically was learning the skill of writing all over again and like reversing all the stuff I learned from high school. So I just, you know, I just wrote. I didn't have any like set framework from day one. I just wrote. And the thing that I found that I was writing the most was just my goals and my why. And so I almost was killing two
Mm.
birds with one stone with my
Yeah.
daily morning writing by like reinforcing why I was writing. So like it sounds kind of weird and meta, but like I was just like, okay, it's January 1st, 2019 right now. I'm writing on this page like a crazy person and writing these words out loud, like saying this stuff. And like, what am I going to write about today? I don't know. Maybe I should write about the fact that we're going to be hopping on a flight to Australia in 6 months. Okay, how's that going to happen? Okay, well, I'm going to start doing writing and copywriting, and like I'm going to make $5,000 a month, and it's going to happen. And we're finally going to quit our jobs, and like, here's why we're doing it because we've been wanting to travel. Like, this is the way I would write. Is I would basically just taking the thoughts in my head that are just like mainly been like suppressed and drowned beneath like, the sorrows of a 9 to 5 for
Mm.
years and just like unleashing them basically. And I would recommend like this practice for anybody, even if you're not a writer or a copywriter or anything. Like just writing daily, like the way it like just realigns you to what you want in life and your goals, and like forces the daily habits you have and the daily actions you have to like come into alignment with those things, like what you really want, rather than what like society or university or your parents or boss or whatever or is telling you to do. It's really helpful just to bring that to the surface. So I would just write primarily my why and my goals, like from like day one, at least for the first couple of weeks. That's what I would do. I didn't have any topic or agenda from the start. I just wrote, and if I didn't have literally like I don't know what to write about, I would literally write the words. I don't know what to write about right now, but I forced myself to just keep writing, putting words on paper or on a Google Doc, no matter what. And like it sounds kind of weird, but like I found that by doing that and like it almost was like sometimes I had to work like chisel away at like the thing that was inside of me by just like I used to think of it almost like a warm up. So like power writing sessions and doing this stuff to like warming up before you actually like get in the game. And like I feel like sometimes you don't have the words right away and you just need to start writing something to like let that creativity just like fly out of you. Like sometimes it's just like you're inspired and you just can just write and you already know what you're going to write about. Sometimes I think you need to actually just start writing anything, even for 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 minutes, and like you'll find that things will just start like clicking, and like eventually it's like I think I heard this analogy before. It's like when you turn on a tap, if you're depending on what part of the world you're in, you turn on a tap and like muddy water comes out and it's like kind of dirty and gross. And like you turn your faucet on and like water starts flowing, it's nasty and whatever. But like as you just keep the thing turned on, eventually like it starts to become more clear and like flows better and all these things till it's just like free flowing clear water. That's kind of the way I think about power writing sessions is like it starts to open up your writing ability and develops your core writing muscle, whether you're a copywriter or a content writer or a creative like fiction writer or whatever. um, so yeah, the thing I was writing, diary journal style writing every single morning to start. That's how I started as a copywriter.
Amazing. Okay, that's the writing part of copywriting covered. How did you learn the copy part, the marketing part of copywriting? So you said books. What are your favorite books, first off?
Yeah, favorite copywriting books. Ad for anyone just like starting out, if you're not sure where to start, I would recommend starting with the Ad Week Copywriting Handbook by
Mm,
Joseph Sugarman.
yeah,
Um, just
so
super
good.
foundational, really easy to read, and he touches on basically everything. Um, just to give yourself a foundation of copywriting. I would also recommend, um, and these ones are newer for me. I actually read these ones recently, but um, Copywriting Secrets, Jim Edwards, Cashvertising, um, Ogilvy on Advertising, Scientific Advertising, um, Influence by Robert Cialdini. That one's that one's a hard read. Some of these are harder
Yeah.
reads, but they like,
So long.
yeah,
Yeah.
but like just getting in it and just going through it and just like brainwashing yourself with this stuff in and
Yeah.
day out. It just marketing and direct response and human psychology, consumer psychology, it just starts to become part of you. And like
Yeah.
the way I think about the best way to learn, um, I think one of the I think we get fearful of how to learn copy and like how to learn anything. But honestly, I think one of the easiest ways is just inundate yourself nonstop with stuff. That's what I did. I just immersed myself in so much copywriting every single day that like I got quicker results. So like
Mhm.
I would be writing in the morning and practicing my writing skill on my drive to work, which sucked, and I was working 12-hour days basically uh, at my final job before copywriting. So like if you're ever wondering if you can build this on the side of 9 to 5 or school or university, 100%. If I can do this outside of a 12-hour day job, you definitely can do this. Um, I would take the drive to work and be like, instead of being sad and like, oh, like I'll just be like, okay, we're gonna listen to a podcast. Which there weren't tons of copywriting podcasts or anything back then, but now there are. Tim Schreiber. Okay, everybody, just subscribe, follow, uh, get on the podcast. Now you have one you can listen to. I would listen to like David Garfinkel's copywriting podcast. That was
Yeah.
like the only one
Straight.
back then. But I would take the time and I would learn, and I would listen to podcasts, and I would listen to audiobooks, and I would write. I would write in the morning, and I would read copywriting books, and like this stuff just became part of me. It just started to
Mm.
become second nature. And eventually I did start writing like tactical copy, like intentional copy, not just, ooh, I'm going to write about my goals all day long. Um, Eventually this shifted to realizing, hey, I gotta start to craft digital copy. And so I started writing within frameworks. So like attention, interest, desire, action, ADA. And that's Gary Halbert's, favorite one. Problem, agitate, solution, PAS. And so I would start to then practice after a couple weeks, like intentional, I'm going to write a piece of copy as if to sell someone on something. Um, I also started I realized I need to specialize. So I, I first specialized into blog posts, which is not so much direct response copywriting, even though there's direct response copy principles attached to
Yeah.
it, you're still leading people down a funnel somewhere. Um, but that's what I specialize into first. So the moment I chose that I was going to go into that is, and it's more content writing, but when I chose that specialty, I started writing that specialty every day. So I would do power writing sessions in the morning, and afterwards I would write a blog post. So every day I went from like warming up with power writing sessions and then like getting in the game with like, okay, I'm going to write a blog post on whatever the thing is, like um, personal finance. I'm going to sell a personal finance course or software or something. And I would create a
Yeah.
sample and write a blog post and use those formulas. So I'd use problem, agitate, solution, and I'd walk through that stuff and apply that to blog post writing. And I would use ADA, attention, interest, desire, action, and I'd apply that framework within a blog post framework. So I started to piece together like these like foundational copy elements um, into specific types of copy, and so I became specialized quickly into that. And so, um, yeah, that's kind of how I transitioned from just like general writing to starting to learn copy. In the same time,
Mm.
Another thing I was doing was um, taking old sales letters and old ads from the OGs like Gary Halbert, Gary Bensavinga, um, Claude Hopkins, those guys, and David Ogilvy, and I would look at their ads and sales letters and just write them out by hand. And the
Yeah.
reason the reason I was doing that was because I quickly through my copywriting research found out that the goat is basically Gary Halbert. This guy sold $1 billion worth of copywriting with his skills. Like, all right, like I want to learn from the best guy then. Like, if this guy's number one, I'm going to see what he has to say about copy. And so that's where, oh, the Boron Letters. That's another book to add to the
Yeah.
list. That's where the Boron Letters came in. It's not actually like the greatest copywriting book, but like, and there's some weird stuff in there that's just like, what is it? Why is it even here? But, but like, it's because this was letters to this guy's son. Like it's pieced together, but there's like the nuggets that are in there are gold.
Yeah.
It's gold. And so I realized like, I don't care how good this book is. If this guy sold the most, I'm going to read his stuff. Right? It's really important to get around people who have results with the skill or whatever you're trying to learn. And so I learned from him, read his stuff, and he told his son, if you want to become a good copywriter, go look at the top sales letters and ads and go write them out by hand, word for word, and do that every day. Just do it. And so I'm like, okay, top dog's telling his son he's not gonna tell his son bad advice to his own blood. So I'm just gonna do the same thing he says. So that's what I did every day. So I just was writing, I was reading, I was hand copying sales letters word by word. I specialized quickly into blog posts and writing and that stuff. So um, like copywriting, a lot of stuff was just literally just inundating myself nonstop with copy. Like
Mm.
I just didn't treat this like it was just some side hustle. I became a
Yeah.
copywriter, so my life became copy. That's that's literally like, you know, there's tactics and stuff I could teach and like tell you how I learn more, but that's kind of the main thing, that if someone wants to learn fast and get good fast, just inundate your whole world with it. Like just immerse
Yeah.
yourself. Immerse yourself with copy, immerse yourself with anything, and you're gonna move faster than the next guy. Way faster.
Yeah, and one of the great things nowadays is you can practice in public. So many people, probably most of the people listening to this, are going to be building their brand on Twitter, and that's been like the best way for me to learn copywriting. Just getting like real world feedback on my
Mhm.
copy, on my email list, on my social media feed, writing some landing pages, even if it was just free stuff. I was like lead magnets. I was selling.
Mhm.
um, it served as great practice. And then one day I started offering consulting calls, even though at the time, I will admit, I didn't know what I was doing. Still, I managed to sell them through my copy. And that was the best way for me to learn them, because I got actual real world feedback. And
Mhm.
that's only possible if you actually write the copy. And
Mhm.
yes, the rewriting sales letters by hand, that's been like, I've been doing that for almost a year at this point, and it's been amazing. There's so many. I have like an entire stack of sheets of paper just with old school sales letters.
That's what I'm talking
It's right
about.
there. Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
Okay, we've talked about how to learn copywriting. Now let's talk about how to make money from copywriting. So how do you actually get clients for copywriting? And there I want to ask you about, like, because most of the people listening to this are not going to be the most advanced. They're not going to have incredible amounts of social proof. So what is the best way to get your first client, or to get your second client, third client, and then go from there?
Yeah. So fastest way to get a client, and anyone can do this within 48 hours. Go get off of Twitter. Go close your laptop and go look outside your front door. Go look at your neighbor. Go look at your mom or your dad or your brother or your cousin. Go look at your contacts app in your phone. Go look at all the people you know already in real life, offline, friends, family, coworkers, Bob the neighbor down the street. Go look at who's already around you who has a business. I recommend picking a specialty like email or ads and leading with that. And I recommend picking a niche like fitness or finance and leading with those two things. But when it comes to landing your first client, I say ignore all of that and just go for whatever the easiest, quickest win is possible. Because like you said, of like posting online with Twitter, like it's one thing to like, it's good to like, hand copy sales letters and, you know, write sample copy and just get that initial work going and do something. But there's nothing more powerful than when you put your copy out there for a real project out there in the world for people to see, whether it's through Twitter or LinkedIn or for an actual client on their website or their email list. So, first place, go look at all your friends, family, coworkers, and ask yourself who has a business. And if you're not sure, just start with your contacts app and just scroll. and this doesn't have to be some big e-com empire or whatever. Like, dude, who's a one-person construction business? Who is the like local coffee shop owner? Who has like a nail salon? Like, just start with literally who has a business, who has a social media presence and sell stuff. Not even online, just in general, and start there. Start there. That's the fastest way to land a client. And like the person who gets clients the fastest and gets client experience the fastest grows the fastest as a copywriter. Like for me, I landed my first client in 6 weeks, on Fiverr, Fiverr.com, very cheap for a $15 blog post. Um, and like getting that first like client experience in our belt was so significant just for my learning, like knowing how to talk to clients, communicate, like manage a project, look at a brief, research, like deal with revisions, communicate again, handle, Fiverr makes it easy to handle invoicing and payment. But like those things, how sales, how to resell them on working together again, and like how to take that project and like turn that into a portfolio piece. That stuff's invaluable. That stuff's that like if you can just get a quick win or a couple quick wins and land any client, even if it's slightly outside of your exact specialty or niche, just do it. Like and even if it's free work, like I don't care. Like I, I know some people it's should you get paid or should you do free work to start? Like I'm in the camp of like just get any client at all costs
Yeah.
anytime, because any amount of experience is going to just skyrocket your confidence. Like the guy who hops on a sales call who has been learning for 3 months but has never landed a client, and like getting on his first sales call to try to land a client, it's really scary. But the person who's been writing copy for 3 months but like did a couple free projects for like a friend or like the neighbor down the street or something, and like has actually done something, like completed a project from start to finish, even if it's like just small or insignificant, that person's hopping on that call within 3 months with 1,000 times more confidence than the next guy. And clients can sniff that out if you're scared or not. Like, you're going to be new no matter what. And like, it's just the way it is. But getting that initial client work, it's invaluable for your confidence as a copywriter to just be able to talk to clients, and even just to say, oh yeah, I worked with a client last month and he was dealing with XYZ and I helped him with this. Like even just to be able to say that stuff, it is like it's so invaluable as a copywriter trying to build your business up. So yeah, go look at the people who are already around you. I always teach people it takes two things to land clients: trust and proof. Those two things. The more trust you have, the easier it is to land clients. The more proof you have, the easier it is to land clients. When you're brand new, you have zero proof. You have nothing. You have no results. You have no case studies, no samples, no experience, nothing. So what can you do? Well, you can lean on your trust you've already built with people in your whole life. Hopefully you don't have a terrible reputation. hopefully you know somebody who can vouch for you and say you're a decent person. Even if you don't land a client from somebody go ask for a character testimonial. Go get like 5 to 10. Hey, can you just write me a quick testimonial saying that like somebody should do business with me as a copywriter? Even if someone doesn't hire you, like go get it. Go get something. Lean on your trust to generate more proof. So like the more you can lean into that trust factor, the less proof is required. I had a friend who, years ago, when I had a couple of real estate agents in mind for when if I wanted to buy or sell a property. I had about 5 guys on my list. One of my best friends became a real estate agent. The moment he became a real estate agent, like he became my number one option. Like he went to the top of the list. And I didn't once ask him for proof of his certification, for like how many houses have you sold? Are you going to find me an actual good house? Like the moment he's like, oh yeah, I got my thing. I'm a real estate agent now. I'm like, sweet dude, I'm calling you first. Why? I have zero proof of like that he could do a good job as a real estate agent, but I know the guy and I like him and I trust him. So he's number one. And so like lean into that. Make your life easier as a new copywriter. Go land easy clients. Just go make your life easy and go whatever the lowest hanging fruit is, and just get that experience if you can. And this doesn't mean you need to go text and be like, hey man, like, can I write some copy for you? Like, go be a person of value. Go look at their website or their social media or their email list ahead of time, your friend or whoever it is, and go give them some tips. Like, go help them out. So, if you've been studying copywriting and marketing and reading the books and hand copying sales letters and doing the stuff and going through courses, like, you should be able to find some things pretty quickly. Like, it doesn't take long for you to be a better copywriter than the average business owner. 30 days of studying, writing for 1 hour a day, studying for 1 hour a day, you're going to beat 99% of business owners. You're going to see things they don't see very quickly. So, like, don't go empty handed. Whenever I talk about, like, with outreach and landing clients, never show up empty handed. Never show up saying, please, sir, may I have some more? Like, don't go begging people. Like, show up with something. Show up with something. Bring something to the table. Give something of value. Like, go be willing to just give and not expect anything in return. And go, and everybody who knows somebody, go through your phone, go find the person who has a business, and go show up with something to give to them, whether that's 3 tips to improve their conversions on their email list, or tips for their social media if you're a ghostwriter, or tips for their sales page or whatever. Like, go there, show up, give them a couple tips. Hey man, I'm doing this now. And by the way, for the local people, this is the 48-hour thing. Go find an offline client. Like, don't call yourself a copywriter either. Call yourself a marketer. Tell them, hey, I'm into marketing now, digital marketing, online marketing. They won't have a clue what the word copywriting is. Approach them more
Yeah.
broad. Approach them more broad. Hey, I do marketing now, and I actually looked at your website, and hey, man, like, I'm into this thing. I'm doing marketing. I help businesses grow through, attracting, nurturing, converting attention, through social media, through emails, through whatever. I looked at your thing. I noticed that your email sign up form could be better if you did this, this, this. Your social media, you should have a link back to your funnel, to your email list, your website. You're going to get more conversions if you show more social proof on that homepage. Like, go show up with something to the person and go help them for free. And
Yeah.
show up like that, and then start talking and see what they say. If they say, screw off, who is this? Maybe go talk to someone else. If they say, oh, what the heck, you're doing this now? Like, oh, that's so cool. And wow, cool tips. Like, that's good. You literally can land a client just like that. And it could be paid too, literally right from day one. Like, you should I still recommend studying and writing copy for at least a couple of weeks before you even try this, just to make sure you know some stuff, and like, you really aren't showing up empty-handed. But go do that. Worst case scenario, you get a testimonial. Worst case scenario, you get a referral, or it's free work. They can't afford to hire you for money, but you get them for free. Go do it. Go build a case study. Imagine going and pitching your first online person with already a case study under your belt, proving you got results for somebody. So it feels a lot better. It's a lot easier to go get on a call with somebody when you show up, again, not empty-handed, but with something. So lean on that. Lean on trust, the trust you've already developed with people, even if you're a new copywriter, because you can sell people just on this. The moment
Yeah.
they know you're doing this thing, and then when you go online, start pulling this lever as well. Start pulling the proof factor. Um, that's what I recommend do first, like before even any online stuff, and get some stuff under your belt.
Lovely approach. I love that. It's quite different to what a lot of people online teach. Just send out cold DMs, cold DMs. No,
Yeah,
that's great. Let's move on a bit further along in the journey. We talked about niching down already. Um, so let me tell you what I first did when I heard about niching down. I was still a web designer. And people online on YouTube, they told me you have to niche down if you want to sign clients. And so what I did is I thought about the people who had the most money, who looked like they had demand, and then I just went for that. And that happened to be lawyers. And then I signed some lawyer clients, and it was horrible. Nothing against lawyers, but I live in Germany, and lawyers in Germany, they're special types of people. And I really I dreaded the work, and it's part of the reason I ended up quitting web design. So
yeah,
how do people actually um, niche down, find their niche, and become experts in that niche without um, doing making the same mistakes I made?
yeah. Um, that sounds fun. Lawyers. Oh
Yeah,
man, you actually landed
not
some
sure.
clients though.
Yeah,
You actually
I
got some
did
of
land
them.
some clients. Yeah,
That's awesome. Landed some lawyer clients. Yeah. I've written a couple things in like the law area over the years, and like it's not fun. This is not fun at all.
Yeah.
A lot of compliance stuff too. But anyways,
Mm.
yeah. So basically, when it comes to your niche, and I'm all for yes, you should pick a niche. And the reason for that, in my opinion, is copywriting is extremely broad, and I think you should actually from day one pick a type of copy, and then also pick a niche. So pick a type of copy like emails or ads or landing pages, and then pick a niche like SaaS or finance or fitness, and pair those together. And the reason is because copywriting is so broad, and so many people are becoming copywriters now, tons and tons. Like it is a it's become a pretty red ocean. So you want to do is create
Yeah.
a new ocean, which is a blue ocean, which is where you can go in and basically dominate. And so if you can go in and own a specific category or a specific lane as a copywriter, it's a lot easier, at least to land clients and get the ball rolling as a new copywriter. What I find is if you start more niche and more specialized and focus on that, as long as the thing is big enough, which most people's choices probably will be, then you can broaden over time. It's easier to broaden your niche or go into different niches or broaden your specialty or become a full funnel copywriter and like start expanding. So that's why you should pick a niche. I think it's way easier to get the ball rolling, just way easier in general. Um, and then how to pick a niche. So like I think it comes down to three things. So first thing is there money? So like you ask the right question with the lawyer thing by saying is there money? You check that box. Um, and for most things, there's probably gonna be money, unless you're like picking like Mongolian throat singing as your niche. Like I don't know, maybe there's a couple dollars in that niche, but like probably there's money in the niche, no matter what someone's choosing. Sure, there's money niches, but I really don't think it matters that much if people are picking like the latest great, oh, AI, that's the trend, that's where all the money is, you have to no, like that doesn't matter. There's thousands and thousands of niches, but there's money everywhere. So most likely, if you go after a niche, it probably has money in it. The second thing is, in my opinion, is to look at is your unfair advantage. So I think it's important to look at like where do you already have some level of expertise in that you can leverage to go approach clients and land them easier as a new copywriter. So, for instance, um, if you are like a karate master and you've been doing karate for like 10, 15 years in your life as a hobby, and like what would be a pretty easy niche to go into and start talking the talk and walking the walk? Probably karate businesses, probably karate coaches and karate training centers and whatever karate products. I don't know. I don't do karate, but just came to my mind. Um, Probably. So like if you can talk the talk and you get on a call and you can say, oh man, I'm a new, you don't have to say I'm a new copywriter, but I'm a copywriter. I've been doing karate for 10, 15 years. And so I can easily speak to your audience. Like if you are your niche, if you are the niche, if you've been doing it, you have experience in it, it's so much easier. You have an immediate advantage. So you don't have to learn this whole new thing. You just have to learn copy and pair it with the thing you're already expert in. And like business owners don't just want to see you can get results. They want to see you have niche industry experience and expertise. Like they want to see that you actually understand the business and the industry in general. And if you can lean on that, if you're a new copywriter, but you're a karate master as well, or or you've been skateboarding for your whole life, or you are like you're a gym junkie and you go to the gym 7 days a week, like 3 hours a day for the past 5 years, it's gonna be a lot easier for you to land a fitness coach than the next guy who doesn't work out. Like it's just gonna be 10 times easier. So look at your unfair advantages. What's your degree? Do you have a degree from university? What's it in? Can you leverage that? What kind of hobbies have you had growing up? Um, like, what are some things that people say about you that people come to you for help in the real world? Like, oh, he's the guy who knows about this. Like, oh, he knows all about personal finance and investing. Like, that's his thing. Like, what is your thing that people come to you and ask you questions about? That's your unfair advantage. And if you have that, maybe look at it as a niche option because it's going to you're going to get a head start rather than start at the start line. And it just makes your life easier. So that's the second thing. third thing to look at, and this is actually, I think, the most dominant and the most important, and I think this comes back to you going into the lawyer path and focusing on them first with web design when you're doing that. The third thing is your passion and your interests. And like, I think this is much more dominant over your unfair advantage, even. So, like, more than the experience you have in a certain area, what do you actually like? So, like me, I skateboarded for like 10 years growing up. I can do a kickflip and some other tricks. I know how to talk the talk to skaters. I did it for years. It was my life. And so, growing up as like a teenager and stuff, that was my whole world. Nowadays, can I still do a kickflip? Absolutely, I could. Like, is it going to hurt my knees doing it down some stairs? Absolutely, it is. But like, I could do it and I could talk the talk. And I could go approach skateboard companies right now and just be like, boom, and talk and like know how to talk to them and know how to sell their stuff. But do I want to? No. Like, I couldn't see myself writing emails about like skateboard stuff every day. And like, it's just not my passion anymore. So I have an advantage in it, expertise in it, but like, it's not like I couldn't see myself doing this for the next 5 years and writing about it. So like, thing that's really important, and the thing that's really important is to understand is if you can write about something that you actually like a little bit, and you could ideally you can see yourself writing for the next 5, 10 years and not get sick of it, you're gonna make a lot more money as a copywriter. Simply because you're gonna enjoy it more, and like work that you enjoy, it goes by like that. It's so fast. Versus work that's suffering, like your lawyer stuff, right?
Mm,
I've
yeah.
I've taken on clients before in like niches that I wasn't super familiar with, and like I wrote for like a biotech company one time, and like, and I was like, because it was good money, and I was like, okay, sure, I'll take it on. I ended up making less per hour, even though I wasn't charging
Yeah.
hourly. The amount of time it took me, just because I was like procrastinating, delaying it, putting it to the side. When I was doing it, I had to research 10 times more, and all these things, and I just like dreaded it, and it sucked. And afterwards, I was like, that was not worth it. So like, if you can find something that's in the money niche, you have an unfair advantage of ideally, and you actually like the thing. That's the like the pinnacle crossroads. That if you have that, go after that first, or find a couple things in that area. But more than anything, just passion over profit, like every single time. Because like the thing that you probably enjoy writing now, you probably will enjoy writing in 5 years. But like, and like, no matter what, even if you're like, I don't have an unfair advantage or anything, doesn't matter. You can have that by just focusing on that and picking the thing you like now, and it will become an unfair advantage really quickly. When you write 1,000 words on the thing every day for the next 30 days, you're going to be an expert more than 90% of people. So um, that's my advice for picking a niche: is like, try to find something of those three crossroads, and
Mm.
you're golden.
Passion is so underrated. I had it as well, where I had when my biggest client was in like a niche. I don't know if I can disclose it, but it was a niche that I didn't know much about beforehand, and something that I actually didn't even like. It was just the money that attracted me to that client. Took on him, made very good money in the first 2 months, and then I just procrastinated for weeks on this project, and in the end the client churned because I just couldn't motivate myself to do it. Whereas clients who were in the niche that I liked, for example fitness, I didn't make as much money right up front, but I just retained them for so much longer because I actually enjoyed the work and I didn't procrastinate on the work. And
Mhm.
it also led to me becoming more creative instead of draining me, which that big client did. So yeah, don't underestimate passion. Even if you're struggling financially, I think it's better to go after your passion than to just go after the money, because it's just so much more sustainable. And you know, money problems are one thing, but when you crash and burn and you can't even motivate yourself to work, then that's probably even worse. So because you don't have hope.
Mhm.
So yeah, passion. Don't forget about passion. I want to ask you about some more coffee specific things, because man, I can learn about this for hours, and you can probably you too. So I want to ask you about one thing one popular belief in copywriting that you think is completely wrong, and then let's dissect that.
Hmm, that's a good question. So one belief about copywriting that's wrong. So like copywriting the skill or freelance copywriting? Which one?
Whatever you want to talk about.
Okay. So, hmm, one belief. I think actually, okay, here's one. I think one belief that people have about copywriting that is wrong, and like I might get blasted for this, but like I think there's a lot of pressure on new copywriters that they have to become like masters of persuasion, and like they need to be like have to come up with the next big idea and be Don Draper, and like they have to sit on something for like weeks at a time to like come up with this crazy campaign and project or whatever, and like they have to master the art of persuasion for 6 months to be ready to land clients. um, but I think it's a load of crap. I think that people think about copywriting as like some like persuasion wizards who have this like crazy insane selling ability, but honestly I think copywriting is just more about clear communication. And I think people need to stop putting so much pressure on themselves as new copywriters to like, oh, like, is this hook like perfect or whatever? And like, is this like, did I get the big idea right in this sales page or whatever? It's like, dude, it's just about communicating one idea from one person's brain to another.
Mm,
And if you can communicate clearly, you're gonna win. Like, I feel like there's just like copywriting is a lot more logical than people think, and we try to focus on like the benefits and the and like what's the emotion and whatever we're trying to target, and that stuff's really important. But I think we often miss like, does this make sense to the person on the other end, or is this going to confuse them? Like, does this is this actually clear, or is this confusing? And I lean on the side of just like, I would rather you be a boring copywriter than be a creative copywriter who confuses people. I would rather you be boring but clear, and like know how to very clearly like translate an idea from from your mind into another person's mind, just like very clearly, so they understand what you're saying. Then then like be put all have this all this pressure to like have this like the next great big idea or something, or that's what I think. I think people get too caught up with this stuff and like way too anxious about like, oh, is this copy going to perform enough because it's like, was it unique and creative and whatever.
yeah.
It's like, no, just like, does it make sense first of all? Is it clear? And like once it's clear and makes sense, okay, can we add a little bit of spice to it and like make the hook juicier, make it like get people's attention more and all those things. Like I think that stuff's
Mm,
the we focus so much on the frills and all the fancy and like the whatever, the woo woo stuff, but like it's like back like let's get back to basics and just focus on the fundamentals, and like, does this capture attention and keep attention and convert attention? Is the copy clear? Do they understand what they're clicking buy for? Do they know what deliverables they're going
yeah.
to get? Like, does this answer their questions? Did we answer objections? Do we need to add an FAQ because we there's a couple other things they need to understand? And if we answered all their questions, sweet, we're probably going to sell some stuff because now we can add on the extra like emotional juice and lead into the benefits and get into the woo woo stuff. So
Yeah.
to keep it short, I think people focus too much on the frill and the fancy and the woo woo and the big idea, way more than they should just focus on like being clear and concise in your copy and being like leaning on the side of being too boring versus too creative. I think that's a better idea, and you're going to convert more.
Mm. On that note, I recently reread the Adweek Copywriting Handbook by Joseph Sugarman. Um, and probably the biggest takeaway I took from that was just being honest in your copy. And it sounds so simple, but if you have a good product and you tell people about everything that the product has to offer, that's some darn good copy. And all the persuasion tactics, they're secondary if you can actually communicate the value of that product. So,
Mm-hmm.
honesty is underrated. And I totally agree with you. I really love that
Mm-hmm.
point. Brandon, let's bring this one home. What's next up for you? Anything that you want to put people on? maybe your email list. Wink, wink, wink. But yeah, tell us about what your plans for the future are.
Yeah, plans for the future. Yeah, if you like freelance copywriting, if you're trying to get into it and you want to follow along a six-figure copywriter and how I built my business up and how you can do that today, yeah, you can find me on Twitter, YouTube, Instagram at Story Copy, and from there you'll find my email list. I got links everywhere, so just go follow me on the platforms first, and then you'll find the email list. And yeah, I do coaching, one-on-one group coaching, self-paced course, and starting to do some workshops as well. So lots of free stuff, lots of paid stuff if you want some extra help with copywriting.
Hell yeah. You're great, Brandon. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, man, it's been a pleasure, Tim.